Are you sick of running into the endless meat grinder known as the frontline in Hell Let Loose? Come with me if you want to live. A flanking maneuver is a movement of an armed force around an enemy force's side or flank to achieve an advantageous position over it, and it makes perfect sense. Why attack your enemy where their forces are most concentrated? And yet, so few Hell Let Loose players understand and implement this proven military tactic. Instead, they post up somewhere on the front line and trade lives over and over again with the enemy. Sure, that can be fun. Hell, you might even rack up a whole bunch of kills. But the problem is, you're not actually playing to the objectives of the game modes in Hell Let Loose. Remember, there is no team deathmatch in this game. There's warfare and there's offensive mode, and kills are not the objective in either of them. If you're not really sure what the objectives actually are in these game modes, then stop right here and go watch my Understanding Warfare versus Offensive Mode video, then come back here afterwards. But if you already have a good grasp of the game modes and you're ready to take your combat effectiveness to the next level, then let's get into it. First of all, flanking the enemy is something you should be looking to do throughout the entire game, whether you're attacking or defending. Yep, you heard that right, even when defending. In fact, flanking the enemy is often the key to a successful defense, as it usually results in locating and eliminating the enemy garrisons. I'm destroying an enemy garrison here. It's down.
Fantastic work, Sniper.
And by destroying their garrisons, you're eliminating their presence in the area, stopping their attack entirely, instead of just trying to fight off endless waves of enemies. So the first thing you want to do is assess the enemy's defenses to figure out where they're focusing most of their attention. If you're making a push to capture an active strongpoint, it's a pretty safe bet that the enemy's focus is most likely going to be on intercepting incoming head-on attacks. They'll likely be clustered up on and around the strongpoint, facing whatever direction your friendly strongpoint is, which is where most of your team will be pushing from. Next, you'll want to make an educated guess as to where any potential weaknesses are in their defenses. In other words, what angle of attack would they least be expecting from you? If your team is pushing toward the enemy strongpoint from the southeast, the enemy is probably least expecting an attack from their west, so that is where you're going to want to make your attack from. Once you've determined the best angle of attack to catch the enemy off guard, the next step is figuring out how to get there while remaining undetected. The element of surprise is what makes a good flank so effective. If your goal is to surprise the enemy from their west, you don't want to just start heading north directly toward the enemy strongpoint and then peel off to the west once you're close by. The enemy will clearly see you moving to the west and they'll shift their defensive line to address the threat. Instead, you want to head west first and then start making your way north. You should be well outside of the enemy's line of sight when you make your way west, so that when you do head north, they have no idea you're coming. Use your map to get an idea of the possible routes you can take and what terrain features they offer along the way. Look for possible routes that give you good cover or at least good concealment. Is there a trench system you can stick to? Are there hedgerows that'll keep you concealed during your approach? Is there a wheat field or a low stone wall you can crouch run behind to keep a low profile? These are the types of things you want to take into consideration when planning your route. You also want to check your map for any markers that can give you information on any potential factors that might come into play. For example, you might notice an enemy tank or an enemy garrison marker. The presence of these types of markers might force you to modify or even abandon your approach altogether. So give your map a quick once-over before you commit to any one particular strategy. The biggest mistake I see people make when trying to flank is not being patient enough to travel the distance needed to truly catch the enemy off guard. You might have to go an entire grid square or more to the west before you start to round off to the north. It's better to go a bit further out of your way than you think you need to than to take too direct of a path to the enemy and have your cover blown. Flanking takes a bit of planning and patience, but the payoff can be huge and entirely influence the outcome of the game in some cases. So don't cut corners. Go far enough around that you're completely out of the enemy's sight for the majority of the time you move. Now, if you're playing as the squad leader, make sure you communicate the game plan to your squad so they understand the goal and don't blow your cover. You can use move markers to visually indicate where you want your squad to be at various points along the way, and don't forget to use your binoculars to scout different areas before your team moves into them.
Enemy infantry on my ping moving across the field on my mark.
Ideally, your entire squad will be using their microphones and working toward common goals, but unfortunately that isn't always the case. If you have some squad members who aren't acknowledging your plan, either kick them from your squad or leave them behind and focus on working with those in your squad who are cooperating. It's also a good idea to communicate your plans in command chat so that your commander and other squad leaders are aware of what you're trying to do. And speaking of good ideas, if you're finding this video helpful so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And if you're interested in joining a really fun and active community, consider joining my Discord. We welcome all players, new and veteran, and have our very own Hell Let Loose server, so come hang out and meet the crew. Okay, so once you've gained a bit of ground, make sure you remember to put down an outpost so that if you are killed, you don't lose all the ground you've gained. You can replace your existing outpost with a new one after a 2-minute cooldown, so make sure you continue to move your outpost with you as you gain new ground. If you can, try to place them in concealed areas so that nearby enemies don't find them as easily. If you're not playing as the squad leader, you should talk to your squad leader and make your case as to why you feel flanking the enemy is the right move, and try to get them on board with it. Explain to them that catching the enemy by surprise will cause their defensive line to have to scramble and take some of their focus away from the front line. Remind them that there's a good chance you'll locate the enemy's garrisons, and that if you're able to destroy them, you'll cripple their defenses, giving your team a good chance to break through and capture the sector. And if your squad leader insists on being cannon fodder the entire game, just leave their squad and try to find another one that's open to playing more strategically. Or better yet, create your own squad. And hey, if you don't feel like you're quite ready to squad lead yet, check out my Ultimate Squad Leader Guide and I'll get you all squared away. Now once you're on the move, keep in mind that you may encounter pockets of enemies along the way, so keep your eyes peeled and move carefully. You'll have to make a decision as a squad as to how to best proceed. Do you engage them or do you lay low and continue your push when the coast is clear? This is pretty situational, and it's something you'll have to decide on the fly using your best judgment. Killing a few randomly patrolling enemies isn't worth blowing your cover, so it's best to just lay low and continue to push once the coast is clear. But if you spot something like an enemy garrison, it might be worth trying to destroy it, assuming you don't urgently need to capture the strong point before time runs out or something like that. Just keep in mind that if you destroy their garrison, your cover will basically be blown, because the enemy team will most likely notice that their garrison just got destroyed in your location. But destroying that one garrison might be worth jeopardizing your entire flanking mission. Now once you get into position, start assessing the situation to see what opportunities are available. Scan the area for potential high-value targets like outposts, garrisons, or resource nodes. Destroying these targets should be your top priority. But before you move in to destroy them, mark them on your map and communicate what you found to command chat.
Enemy garrison on able mark.
That way, if you fail to eliminate them, at least they'll be marked on the map and your teammates will be aware of their location. One strategy I like to use is to designate one person in your squad to dismantle the outpost, garrison, or nodes, while the rest of the squad provides overwatch. Ideally, you would dismantle the garrison before a single shot is fired, but it doesn't always play out that way, so having your squad in good position and ready to fire if they're needed is a good move. Anti-tank players can also quickly take out garrisons with a well-placed rocket. However, rockets cannot destroy resource nodes. Your best option to take out resource nodes is a satchel charge, since nodes take 84 years to dismantle by hand and are typically built close together. Satchels are also a great way to deal with any enemy tanks in the area. Set a 30-second fuse and then get everyone into position to fire on the enemy infantry as soon as the satchel explodes. They won't know what the hell just hit them. Just remember that once you get close to an enemy garrison, it'll light up red on their map, which can alert them of your presence. So while I do promote having a plan, you'll need to formulate and execute that plan quickly before your cover is blown. Even if you're only able to take out a handful of infantry before you're killed, you will have disrupted their defenses and taken some of their focus away from the frontal attack by your teammates. And remember, you tucked away a nice little outpost nearby, so you'll be right back to harassing the enemy in no time. Once they realize you have an outpost or garrison in the area, they'll likely dedicate a squad or two to finding and eliminating it, further thinning out their main defensive line. So hopefully by now you understand the importance of flanking the enemy and how much of an impact it can have on the flow of the battle. Make sure you check out the rest of my tutorial videos in my tips and tutorials playlist to continue to take your game to the next level. I want to give a big thanks to all my channel members for supporting the channel. I appreciate the hell out of you guys. If you want to join them in supporting the channel, consider becoming a channel member by using the join button below this video. I'd also like to send a shout out to all my buddies in the Discord channel. You guys are the best. If you're looking for an awesome server to play on with active admins and a whole bunch of awesome people who welcome new players or veterans alike, check out SoulSniper's Soldiers of Fortune. We'd love to squad up with you and have a good time. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.